How many of you are familiar with the term waiver? Now, for our purposes, there are a couple of different definitions, but let me tell you one in particular, and let me tell you why it should matter to you. According to Merriam-Webster, a waiver is the act of intentionally or abandoning a known right, claim, or privilege. For those of you who are probably trying to figure out what does that mean, well, what it ultimately stands for is that you're taking the conscious act of giving up something that you're entitled to receive. Think about it in a criminal context, where maybe you have a right to a speedy trial. You waive that. Well, what is that effectively doing? You're basically saying that I don't want to have my trial fast. I am agreeable to waiving that time period. That's fine. Imagine where, let's say you go to a sporting event and on the ticket, and it's on the back of it, there may be an indication where you're basically saying, I consent that if somebody wants to sue me, they can only sue me here. What they're basically telling you is that you're agreeing to waive your right to sue at a particular location, and you are agreeing to let them have the right for you to sue them there. Now, this can get tricky because let's be clear. How many of us have seen those different forms that we have to fill out and so forth, whether it be you're signing up for some service, where taking an app, getting an app update or something like that, and it's like all this legal mumbo jumbo. Usually somewhere tucked in there is some type of waiver where you're agreeing to give up something. It's a normal course of process. We do it on a regular basis. But this is where you need to know. Sometimes it helps you. Sometimes it hurts you. First, when I say sometimes it helps, depending on the circumstances, your need for a waiver may give you the ability to get something a lot sooner because it removes a normal process or something in place so that you can get it faster. Or let's use the criminal context. When I said you could waive the right to a speedy trial, you might want the trial to take a while, so that gives your attorneys and your investigators the opportunity to get as much information as possible. So in that instance, it may help. However, it could also hurt. And I mean that from the standpoint that if the waiver was intended to give the whether it be the entity, the business, or maybe the individual, the ability to put themselves in a better position at your expense, they may be getting you to waive something like maybe your right to sue, or maybe your right to a particular period of time to allow you to consider to sue. Asking you to basically do something that benefits them in the event the circumstances presents themselves where you want to avail yourself of your rights, but they know you may do it, so they get you to give them up in advance. So think of it like this. Let's say you go to a sporting event and they basically say, oh, if you're coming here, you by buying this ticket, you agree that you're going to waive your right to sue us if something happens. Well, they're not hoping something happens, but they're protecting themselves so that if something happens, they can say, hey, see this right here? You agreed that you wouldn't sue us. So now what happens is that this one odd situation presents itself, and now you don't have the opportunity to avail yourself of a right because you waived it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go to court and try to get that thrown out. But at the same instance, that it could be used as evidence against you to demonstrate that you knowingly and willingly foregoed your rights. Now, let me be clear when I say this. I'm not telling you this to say that signing a waiver or doing a waiver in whatever case is wrong. Never am I telling you that. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not so great. Just know the difference and understand how signing a waiver, what impact that's going to have on you, and whether you're okay with those circumstances.